All right, you can use the hashtag askcovenant or reply to one of these videos, and we will answer your questions right here on the channel. Today's question comes from Matthew Moody. He says, oh, and we have special guest DC here from Steamforged, in case you're wondering.
Important for this question.
So Matthew Moody wants to know, as 3D printers become more popular, there's a growing ability to print and play entire games. Imagine sending the rules PDF and miniatures STL files to your local print shop, and in 1 to 3 business days, picking up an entire board game. The print shops would pay royalties to the people who made the game, and you'd be able to choose what type of materials you want the game to be made out of. This will bring game ideas to concept faster, and iterative games will become the norm. What do you think of an entire print and play game?
Well, and you could make your models out of chocolate.
That's the most important thing. Mid-game,
which
I
we
need
know.
a snack. Just have
DC would have no army left.
This model is just not doing a good job today. That's it. You're getting eaten.
Do you?
I think that one of the things that's interesting about that question is maybe he already realizes this, and that's part of why he seeded the question, is there are Kickstarters already doing it. There are Kickstarters where you can pledge an amount to get the true print and play files, the 3D print and play files, and then pledge levels where you can get the game. There are several people who have already done it. I think it will be difficult to get it mainstream because of something that we were talking about earlier in terms of pricing and profit margins. The amount of work that goes into a miniatures game isn't just, a lot of it is in the mold costs, but there's also being able to cover the work that goes into the art, the graphic design, the game development, so many pieces of making a game that aren't related to the manufacturing costs. And if you try to cover the full cost of that in a 3D printed, do-it-yourself sort of world, I don't know if the financials work. I mean, I think that becomes kind of the equivalent of, to the video game scene, that indie game sort of concept. I think it works there where you're keeping your budget low, you're keeping your production costs low, you can deliver it for a low cost and in a low cost fashion. But I don't know if you can ever really get to that point with like what I think of as like a big box board game. Mm-hmm. Like trying to produce Dark Souls in that fashion, like the amount you would then have to charge for it, and then would people then want to pay a print shop or even just at their own house pay this much for the components, and none of that money is going to the game company, that money's all going to somebody else. Like, would it work for a big box game? I don't know. I think it would be very difficult to make it work successfully, but maybe.
Yeah, I think a few parts of that puzzle to me are the game itself would potentially need to leverage that system very differently. Mm-hmm. Like I think Dark Souls is an example. A lot of models, a lot of pieces, a lot of story being built versus, having a system, a rule system that can be posted online, right? And then it's like you print models. For even God Tier, maybe a different example, where maybe the only thing you need to print is the models, and you have the rules online, and you can have a grid-based map or whatever. But I think the other part of that is...
So how do you pay for all of the art, all of the development, all the
you don't need to pay for that. That's fine. That's free, right? Like nobody has to get paid for that stuff, right?
Yeah, right. No, I mean, I've
got an idea on that.
If they're downloading it, and they'd have to pay to like use the files or whatever. So, but I think the more interesting thing for me out of that would be kind of a community-driven effort. Where you have like people that can create 3D files in a game, like a basically open sourced game.
Yeah.
I think that's where that might work.
I think it's fantastic for the customer.
Yeah.
I just think it falls down for the creator.
What if like we as a store, like as a local store, if we could pay, let's say it was $1,000 a month, and we were subscribed to Steamforged, and then it was just basically like, okay, hey, there's a new model. We have a big release party. We just start printing like this one model over and over again, and we could sell it for whatever we wanted. We'd pay for the supplies, we'd pay for the printer, we'd pay for the materials, and we would pay you guys for essentially being on contract as receiving your designs. Now there's something.
I'm trying to think where that would wind up. Like, what's the emergent behavior from that, do you think?
I don't know. I'm not 100% certain, because it could go sideways.
I think it could go sideways quick. Because like if I'm an online retailer and I subscribe, I'm now selling this stuff for whatever and then the cost bidding wars on the prices. And
it'd be tough.
It's interesting.
It'd be tough.
I think,
ultimately, one person would reign supreme after
a
while, you'd imagine, right? Like when people would have the contract.
I think the best way for it to work is that indie game mindset where they haven't spent as much on art. They haven't spent as much on the sculpts. They've kind of keyed in on a cool idea and they're going to make some money from it, but trying to run a company with that business model seems impossible, but who knows?
We'll see. We'll look at this 15 years from now and
yeah.
see where we are.
We will see. All right, use the hashtag askcovenant or reply below to get your question answered right here on the channel. You can also leave your thoughts to this question below, and we'd be happy to check them out. Thanks for watching.